Hi students, I am Dr. Vinatha, Assistant Professor in Department of General Medicine from Sree Balaji Medical College and Hospital. I have 5 years of experience and 1 patent in credit. Today's topic is about diabetes mellitus. Students should be able to know about the definition of diabetes, classification, risk factors associated, pathophysiology, clinical presentation, diagnostic evaluation, acute and chronic complications and management of it. Now we'll go into the session. Diabetes mellitus characterized by chronic hyperglycemia. That means increased sugar levels for a prolonged period. It may be due to the decrease in insulin secretion or increased glucose production or decreased glucose utilization, which leads to the disturbance in carbohydrate, fat and protein metabolism. The classification, as per ADA classification, we have type 1 diabetes mellitus, type 2 diabetes mellitus, and maturity onset diabetes in the young, genetic defects like insulin receptor mutation, exocrine pancreatic disease like pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, cystic fibrosis, endocrinopathies associated with diabetes or Cushing syndrome, acromegaly, pheochromocytoma, hyperthyroidism. Drugs which causes hyperglycemia are glucocorticoids, thiazide and atypical antipsychotics. Infections, cytomegalovirus and Coxsackie are also cause diabetes. Gestational diabetes, this is hyperglycemia first recognized during pregnancy. It usually resolves postpartum, but there is an increased risk of type 2 diabetes mellitus in mother and macrosomia in baby. The type 1, coming to the pathophysiology, type 1 diabetes, this is because of autoimmune destruction of pancreatic B cells which results in absolute insulin deficiency. Environmental triggers like viral infections or toxins in genetically susceptible individuals, HLA, DR3 or DR4, they are prone for type 1 diabetes. Other risk factors like dietary factors with low vitamin D consumption, early exposure to cow's milk, exposure to cereals before 4 months of age. This results in hyperglycemia, lipolysis, ketogenesis and risk of diabetic ketoacidosis. Coming to the pathophysiology of type 2 diabetes, this is insulin resistance with relative insulin deficiency. Resistance means failure of the insulin to act over the target organs like muscle, adipose tissue and liver. Resistance will be there for the muscle and adipose tissue, leading to hyperglycemia and increased hepatic glucose production like gluconeogenesis. Chronic hyperglycemia and free fatty acid damages the beta cells which worsens over a time, results in decrease in insulin secretion. Other factors, risk factors associated with type 2 diabetes are obesity, dyslipidemia, hypertension, family history of parents or siblings, polycystic ovarian disease, acanthosis nigricans, physical inactivity and previously identified with impaired glucose tolerance, history of gestational diabetes mellitus or delivery of a baby more than 4 kgs. So clinical features, patient comes with the classical symptoms of polyuria, polydipsia, polyphagia. 3 P's you can remember. Polyuria means increased urination, polydipsia increased thirst, polyphagia is increased hunger. Other symptoms are weight loss, fatigue, blurred vision and recurrent skin and urinary infections are more common. In type 1 diabetes, patients will be thin built. In type 2 diabetes, patients usually are overweight or obese. Complications, what are the complications you will be seeing? The acute complications are diabetic ketoacidosis and hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. Diabetic ketoacidosis most commonly seen in type 1 diabetes. This is usually precipitated by infections, trauma or the stoppage of insulin. Lab findings you will see as glucose will be more than 250 milligrams per deciliter with the acidotic feature of pH less than 7.3 and serum bicarbonate is less than 18 millimoles per liter with positive urine ketones. Hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, this is commonly seen in type 2 diabetes and elderly patient. There will be hyperglycemia, sugar values more than 600 milligrams per deciliter without any significant ketosis. Patient will present with a profound dehydration and neurological symptoms. Coming to the chronic complications, we have a microvascular and macrovascular. Microvascular complications, it is diabetic retinopathy, diabetic nephropathy, diabetic neuropathy, sensory motor peripheral neuropathy or autonomic neuropathy features like gastroparesis, erectile dysfunction. Macrovascular complication is because of accelerated atherosclerosis due to hyperglycemia, dyslipidemia and inflammation. Coronary artery disease, cerebrovascular disease, peripheral artery disease. Foot ulcers may lead to infections and amputation. Skin manifestations like acanthosis nigricans, necrobiosis lipodica. Cognitive impairment is seen due to microvascular changes in brain. How will you investigate the patient and confirm? If, as per ADA guidelines, fasting plasma glucose more than 126 milligrams per deciliter is diagnostic. A random plasma glucose of more than 200 milligrams per deciliter, oral glucose tolerance test or with 75 or 100 grams of glucose, or postprandial glucose of 2 hour of glucose more than 200 milligrams per deciliter is diagnostic. HbA1c average of 3 months more than 6.5% is diagnostic. In type 1 or diabetes, autoantibodies we do are anti-glutamic acid decarboxylase antibodies, islet cell antibodies, insulinoma associated 2 antibodies are seen. C-peptide levels, when you check, it is low or absent in type 1 diabetes, is normal or high in early type 2 diabetes. Other lab parameters like lipid profile, renal function test, urine albumin, electrolytes we test. How will you manage this patient? Management based upon the lifestyle modification. Diet is by carbohydrate counting, low glycemic index foods. Exercise, it improves the insulin sensitivity, thereby weight reduction is seen. Weight loss in type 2 diabetes reduces the insulin resistant. Source is only insulin. Type 2 diabetes you can treat by oral hypoglycemic agents and insulin. Insulin, it is a peptide hormone secreted by beta cell of pancreatic cell. It regulates the glucose, lipid, protein metabolism by binding to the specific receptor and target cell. Insulin receptor is a tyrosine kinase receptor found on the cell membrane of insulin sensitive tissue like liver, muscle and adipose tissue. So in liver, it increases the glycogen synthesis, increases lipogenesis, decreases gluconeogenesis and ketogenesis decrease. Muscle, it increases the glucose uptake by GLUT4 receptors, increases glycogen synthesis and protein synthesis. Adipose tissue also, it increases the glucose uptake by GLUT4 receptors, increases triglyceride synthesis, decreases lipolysis. In brain erythrocyte, mostly it is insulin independent glucose uptake. Insulin also acts as a growth factor in many tissues. A net effect of insulin is an anabolic hormone, promotes storage of glucose, fat and protein. It inhibits the catabolic process like gluconeogenesis, glycogenolysis, lipolysis and proteolysis. Only hypoglycemic effect, it lowers the blood glucose level. Oral hypoglycemic agents are biguanides. First is metformin. Mechanism of action is by decreases hepatic gluconeogenesis, increases peripheral glucose uptake, slightly reduces intestinal glucose absorption. Adverse effects to look into is GI upset, lactic acidosis, B12 deficiency. Sulfonylurea, examples are glibenclamide, glipizide, gliclazide. It stimulates the pancreatic beta cells and increases insulin secretion. Only adverse effects are hypoglycemia and weight gain. Meglitinides, these are epaglinide, nateglinide, similar to sulfonylurea, but it is short acting. Adverse effects to look into is hypoglycemia and weight gain. Thiazolidines, these are pioglitazone, rosiglitazone. It activates the paroxysmal proliferative activator receptor gamma, increases transcription of genes for insulin sensitivity, increases glucose uptake in adipose and muscle, decreases hepatic glucose output. It improves the insulin sensitivity. No hypoglycemia is seen when used alone. Adverse effects are weight gain, fluid retention leading to heart failure risk, and risk of fractures. Alpha glucosidase inhibitors, acarbose, meglitol, it inhibits alpha glucosidase, delay carbohydrate digestion, postprandial, it mainly reduces postprandial glucose, adverse effects of flatulence, diarrhea, abdominal discomfort. DPP-4 inhibitors, gliptin, sitagliptin, saxagliptin, linagliptin, it inhibits the dipeptidyl peptidase 4 inhibitor, incretin, GLP-1, GIP action, increases glucose-dependent insulin secretion, thereby decreases glucagon. GLP-1 receptor agonists are exenatide, liraglutide, semaglutide. It mimics the GLP-1, glucose-dependent insulin release, suppresses glucagon, slows gastric emptying, thereby increases satiety. Adverse effects are nausea, vomiting. SGLT2 inhibitors are dapagliflozin, empagliflozin, canagliflozin. It inhibits the sodium glucose co-transporter in proximal renal tubules, increases urinary glucose excretion. Adverse effects to look into is genitourinary infection, dehydration, and rarely it may cause euglycemic diabetic ketoacidosis. Insulin therapy is given in type 2 diabetes patient when there is secondary failure of oral agent or patient having severe hyperglycemia, pregnancy, surgery. Types of insulin we give is long-acting and short-acting agents. It can be combined with the oral agent. Risk of hypoglycemia and weight gain is there. How will you monitor the patient? Usually self-monitoring of blood glucose is good, and HbA1c to be done every 3 months. Blood pressure, lipid profile, renal function test, and routine eye examination. The management of complications like ACE, ARB inhibitors for nephropathy patients, statins for dyslipidemia, ophthalmology checkups for retinopathy, and foot care for neuropathy and dulces. It brings me the end of the session. We'll meet in the next session.